In this podcast, we meet young people from all over the world who are building lives in the Netherlands and Belgium, whether by choice, chance, or necessity. In this episode, our guest is Mohamed Bah, or Mo. Mo is from Guinea. He's 30 years old, and he came to the Netherlands in 2019. Welcome, Mo.
Thank you. I cannot believe I'm that old.
I'm right there with you. So you have actually been on a podcast with Are We Europe before, a couple years ago, and you were talking about what it was like arriving here undocumented. Yeah. And then at the end of the podcast, you called them to tell them you got your documents.
Yeah.
So what's that been like since then?
One of the things that I observed immediately after was that once you start getting out of this survival mode and you start to think, okay, this is time to make this place a home, there is more stability, then a lot of other questions pop up. And the only thing that have changed is just an announcement or the fact that you did have a document, but you're still in the same situation, you live in the same places, have to follow the same stamping with the core.
It's interesting how you said it's then time to make this place a home.
Yeah.
In this podcast, we're looking at what home means to people who have come to the Netherlands and when they feel they have found a home here, a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
So you felt like you couldn't start making a sense of home in this place until you were documented?
Well, you literally cannot, because I don't know if you are aware, but undocumented people are excluded in many aspects of society. And if you are in this phase of uncertainty wherein you don't know if you will get a document or not, where if you will be deported or not, if you will end up in detention or not, you don't have the flexibility, the liberty to plan for a week ahead, a month ahead, or even a year ahead. And so you have to live the day by the day until the day that you get your decision.
Okay. Well, I would love to hear more about the, despite feeling that when you get your documents, a lot of the uncertainty will go away, despite that not being true. I would love to hear more about that. But before we get there, maybe for the listeners, we can have a quick summary of your journey to the Netherlands and how it was being undocumented until where we are now.
Yeah. So why did I choose to come to the Netherlands? To be honest, the only thing that I knew about Holland before I came here was I used to see this cans of milk, and on you would see like made in Holland, you know? And growing up, all I knew about Holland was milk.
And this was in Guinea, you got cans of milk made in Holland?
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw that at some point. And to this day, when people call me like, hey, I heard in Holland you guys have so much milk that you can open the tap in your house and just get it. And then we would laugh. But when I arrived in Spain, I was sitting outside a bench in the place that we were lodged at, observing, newly in Europe, fascinated by the environment. First time, I was really, really mesmerized by everything that I was seeing.
How did you arrive to Spain?
By a boat from Morocco.
Okay, so you traveled to Morocco from Guinea?
Yeah.
And then from there, a boat to Spain?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
But that's a whole lot of, that was a struggle in itself, and there's a lot of podcasts about that for those who want to listen. But I was there, and people from the Jehovah's Witness, they came to me. I was there on a bench, and they spoke to me in English. And I was like, wow, you speak very good English. Like, we are from Holland, from the Netherlands. Like, okay, the Netherlands, English. So at that time, I knew that one of the tools that I have was my ability to communicate with people, to connect with people, to interact, to share my experiences. And I determined at that point that staying in Spain meant that I had to learn a whole new language to be able to express myself. And for me, that was going to be a struggle. And I then later on read that in the Netherlands, it's one of the happiest countries, people are so happy, it's so safe that prisons are closing. All these things were really, really enticing for me. And I felt like after what I've been through, I deserve that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I decided to come to the Netherlands and, give it a shot and see if I could get the chance to start a life here. My process was going on. And while my process was going on, most of the times when it comes to migrants, it's like you have to wait.
Yeah.
There's no other option. You cannot work. You can either learn Dutch or not learn Dutch. Doesn't really matter. It's not obliged until you have your residency permit. And during that wait time is where a lot happens. People either choose to wait and eventually get a lot of problems when it comes to mental health, the stress, the uncertainty, or you choose to do something, try to build. And for me, I wanted to build. I had experienced being undocumented in Amsterdam. I had experienced the impact that this can have on me. And I wanted to be part of those who bring solution. Mm-hmm. It felt good that of the people who were trying to help migrants at the time, that, there's a migrant himself or herself being part of that team. For me, it felt like it was a honorable position, you know? So I came back and continued with Printwrite, and eventually the idea of representation came, and the idea that one of the things that is really, really missing is the fact that wherever you need to go, you always need to have someone who's white, who's Dutch, to be there with you, else you'll be denied. You always need to know someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows a place where you can get this and that and that and this. So you always needed someone. Imagine someone who left their country alone, someone who went through Libya, survived torture. Some people were enslaved, 21st century, still happening, Some people even worse,
Yeah.
And you come here, but then when you reach here, you need someone to be able to go to the doctor. You need someone to be able to go to do basically anything. And that's taking away your ability. I don't know how to place this, but you become like
You become so strong through all these hardships, and then just something simple you can't do alone, despite going through really hard stuff.
So what I'm saying is, if I could leave Guinea and come all the way to the Netherlands, then I should be able to go to the doctor without the help of someone.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, how would you do it? The how. So information is was inaccessible. I hope we've managed to fix that. You always needed to call someone to ask, how can I get this? How can I do this?
Yeah.
So we decided to come up with the CityWrite app to bridge that gap, to empower people, to let people know that, look, you can do this, because once you start having, this is my personal opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really, really, people need different things when they're in a certain situation. But for me, I felt like I needed to be taught how to do things instead of having things being done for me.
Absolutely.
So the app is an empowerment tool that provides information and make sure people can choose to do things by themselves. There's everything inside. And we're building sort of like a mini social media for migrant networks and migrants to be able to reach out and get in touch with one another.
Yeah.
And eventually we started the CityWrite radio again. Why? Today we live in a time where it is normal for a politician to come and stand in front of people and tell them, like, look, those migrants, they're responsible for everything that is happening to you. Mm-hmm. People that are in the most vulnerable positions they can ever be in their lives
Are being used as scapegoats.
Yeah, and people are buying it. Yeah, you saw what happened with Donald Trump, like all these executive orders.
Yeah.
It's just BS.
Yeah.
You know? And what this does is, we are scared, man. Like, it's scary. I'm here. There is a chance that they could take my residency permit away. You know? That is a scary position to be in. So, which means, if there was a chance that I would get into trouble with you, whether I was right or something, I would rather avoid it because I'm in a position of vulnerability.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's how 100% of migrants live. And when we don't do it, when we're tired, when we are fed up, like, no, I cannot do this anymore, you become the bad migrant.
Yeah.
Like, they're violent. They push you to the point wherein you do something stupid, and then they use that to take all of the people down.
Or even if you don't, if someone else does something stupid who is an undocumented migrant, you could be in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Because it's all pulled
because
together.
You are, like I said, my name was Mohamed when I left Africa.
Yeah.
At Kimi, I became a Mo.
Yeah.
I was a Guinean, but here I'm a migrant.
Yeah.
I'm a refugee. That's just a label, whatever, however, but there is more. I'm a Fula person,
Mm-hmm.
I love music, I love poetry. There's a lot more to me than a migrant,
Absolutely.
But we are all put in this one box, and I think that's one of the problems of the migration system in Europe, is the fact that a whole class of people is put within one box, whereas we are different people with different histories, different culture, and that we're expected to be this one huge organism, which we are not. So, yeah, I got lost in thought, bro.
No, I mean, what's interesting is, as a migrant, your aim is to find a sense of home in a different place.
Yeah.
And you're faced with these adversities, which make it so difficult to feel at home somewhere.
Yeah.
Even now that you've been through so many adversities, still have so many to go, which we'll get onto in a moment with the inburgerings.
Yeah.
And you've also found the time to help other undocumented migrants. Is there a point in that timeline where you feel like, despite pushing a big rock up a steep hill,
Yeah.
you felt like you could find a sense of belonging and home within the Netherlands?
Yeah, but that's a tough question. And I'll explain to you why I feel like it's a tough question. Mm-hmm. On the one hand, I feel like it would be, I'm a Fula person. This is my culture. I feel like I have to be grateful for the Dutch people for hosting me, Despite the shitty stuff that I've been through, I'm really appreciative of what I've got here.
Yeah.
Do I feel like home? It's 50-50. Because every time I feel like I am home, I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that remind me that, no, you are not.
Yeah.
The month of December, after the elections, was one of the toughest months in our community.
Yeah.
Because politicians, with high portfolios, people who you would imagine to be smart, would be attacking, making really, really a lot of anti-migrant rhetorics, And people were worried. Like, Frank, if someone was to, whatever happened to us, if it were to happen to you guys, we would expect you to do the same, We would welcome you in Africa, give you residency permits, give you houses, and then sit you down maybe and then give you a moral lesson of how you could have done better when we were here. But, migrants are being instrumentalized. I feel like the politicians have a lot to gain, and we don't have the means to counteract. So the rest is fear. Every time you're one step closer to getting stability, there is something that pushes you back. You know, so I want to be home. You know, I really tried hard. Most people, I'm sorry to say this, it may be stupid, but all you had to do was to be born in the Netherlands to become Dutch. I had to fight for it, be homeless for it. I'm not saying, but I really, really did work hard for it. This is like a whole university level of preparing for the...
Oh, I don't doubt. It's more than university level.
Yeah, so like people try. I know people who've been here 40 years undocumented.
Yeah.
You know, that's like someone who really wants to be here. And if you could see it in another way, it's like, don't see it as someone that is coming to take over your country. What do you have? Of course, trains, metros, nice. Take all this away. It's just a barren land. Maybe you can do something else. But just this infrastructure, and if someone finds the beauty in this place, finds something good enough that is worth staying for, it's a privilege that they choose your country. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah.
You know? There are more beautiful places in the world. But people choose here, and for 40 years they're undocumented. I don't think it's fair. I think there needs to be some change.
Yeah. For people to choose to be here 40 years undocumented should highlight to Dutch people how good they have it here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And one of the things is a lot of people don't know what is happening, and you cannot blame them because people are really not interested on things that are happening outside of their bubbles. You know?
Absolutely.
If I ride on the bike, I see people that I know are undocumented, and I know that a lot of people don't see this in the city. So there are a lot of people who are your neighbors, who you see on a daily basis, but you don't know. The estimate of undocumented people in the Netherlands, Amsterdam, I don't know, ranges from 30 to 60,000. It's not known. But there are people here, and despite all these attacks and all this instrumentalization, accusing migrants of being responsible for housing problems, at some point they'll start telling people that we are responsible for global warming and stuff like that. Maybe. I don't know. Because that's how easy it is, and people just take it in. Yeah, I want to feel home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm appreciative to the Dutch people. I mean, for all, but there's still more to go.
So I wanted to resonate with you on when I asked you, when did you feel a sense of home in the Netherlands? I think to look at like a country for a sense of home, it's complex because, like you said, 50-50.
Yeah.
There's parts of this place that you can attach to. There's people, there's places that you feel comfortable in to call it home. But there's also people trying to push you down, you know, and they ruin that then. And arguably you can have that with any country. Obviously, as a migrant, the adversities are far greater than a native.
Yeah.
But how I see it as someone who's born here, but then grew up in different countries as well. I was never an undocumented migrant. I was privileged not to be put in that situation. However, there's countries I went to where, I didn't speak the language or the culture is unfamiliar. And the sense of home becomes so nuanced, it's not landlocked to me. And I was wondering if that resonates with you as well when I talk about a sense of belonging or home.
Well, obviously, even if I tell people that I'm from the Netherlands, there will still be that question, but where are you really from?
Yeah.
There will always be that. Look, I'm proud of being an African. I'm proud of being a Guinean. I'm really proud of being a Fula person, and I know that's like a huge part of who I am, If I'm Mr. Nice Guy, one friendly guy with everyone, it's because that's the culture that I was raised in.
Yeah.
That's never going to go. Doesn't mean there's no room for me to learn to appreciate being in the Netherlands. For me, when it comes to like home, Guinea will be home,
Yeah.
I've spent I spent a long time here, and I've tried a lot of firsts. You know, those are really, really important memories for me. So this is a place where it also feels like home. And I was just telling someone this a few days ago. Growing up in Guinea, just an instance, I used to go back to my hometown during school holidays, and would go to the mountains, and some days it would be foggy, and I would see the fog in the mountains. Now I got to see the fog in Amsterdam from a different perspective. So it's just home, but different places, you know? In Guinea, I have family, I have friends. Here, I have friends, I have colleagues, you know? Hopefully soon, family. So I cannot really say, but I love it here, man. I really do. The freedoms and the opportunities and the close friends that I have, they're really good, man. You know? And yeah, I would love to stay here, but it's not up to me. And that's where most of the problems come.
Yeah.
Where as long as with the click of a finger, all that I've tried, all that I've fought to
all that
achieve,
you've built can disappear.
Yeah, then it's not home, is it?
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah.
And on the topic of Guinea, what would you say is one of the cultural things of Guinea that you miss the most here?
Well, the first obvious thing would be the weather.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's more togetherness there. And people talk to each other, you know? Your neighbor is your first responder, like if you're in an emergency situation. And people talk to each other in the public transport. And I was told for a long time, like, if you see a Dutch person, don't say, hey, who is it? Hoe gaat het? I was like, they told me, like, you don't say hoe gaat het. Like, no, but I want to know how this person is doing. How are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, I want to know. Like, no, it's not normal. Do you have to give away your values and stuff? Like, no, I don't have to be a certain way. Maybe I can have my unique, persona that is a combination of my African history and my Dutch experience. So, yeah.
Okay, so I want to get back to today.
Yeah.
And the process you're in now. You've been documented for 2 years now.
Yeah. No.
But it's not over,
no,
like you said.
No, it's not. Look, once you get... Okay, I'm going to talk. This is me. Once I got my residency permit and I got a place, I got into like a depression. And you and I have obviously come to you about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently when you've been on flights, you've been running, once there's that little stability, things start to come back. And it was shocking because for almost a year I was depressed and I didn't know that I was depressed. Something was just wrong and something felt different. I was not feeling myself. And so there is that. And at the same time, there is the inburgering, the integration. It is expected of you you are given 3 years to learn Dutch, you know? And I couldn't. I have not been able to. Not because I don't want to, but because every time since I started this, I started getting depressed at the same time. So I've been working, been going to school, been depressed. And it's been that circle. I would start school and then I would really, really go down. I would have to stop. And I cannot stop working because I have to pay my rent. And so it's just in this loop, you know, in this circle. So for me, I'm really struggling to get out of it because I have to finish my inburgering this year. And I don't know how to do this. I don't know if there's ways to accommodate for unfortunate situations like what happened to me. But it is something that happens a lot within our community. long period of stress, and then all of a sudden you're expected to get back into society, to integrate, to be,
Yeah.
And for me, it was really difficult, and luckily I'm getting help and getting there. But it's getting better. It was really long, especially in the times where I didn't know I was depressed. For a long, I don't know if you remember, but I started coming to you, asking questions because, there were not many people that I could talk to, and I felt like I could confide in you. Let's open it here. And and then understanding like this is what the symptoms are, this is what it does, and then started for almost a year, around December last year, and then when I realized, I started going to therapy, and it's something that is really, really common within in the community. People are stressed a lot, and then you have politicians keep just pushing, attacking, blaming, accusing, threatening, we will deport you. Someone who's been left family, survived the boat ride, survived the torture or whatever that they do to people in Libya. I was not in Libya, I was in Morocco. Survived the sea, survived being undocumented, survived the IND interviews, survived basically all these discriminations that you experience, and then someone just stand there, oh, these people need to go back to their country.
Yeah.
Really?
That's not an option at that point.
If we could, we would.
Yeah.
But people leave because there is a reason, Nobody chooses to leave family, friends that they grew up with, abandon everything to come and start fresh in a country where they don't know anyone. I mean, you must be fleeing something, huh?
Yeah.
So, that's how it's been. It's been a very, very tough time.
And you're saying you found help now for this stage you're in with your mental health.
Yeah.
Was that difficult to find? Are there organizations in place to help people in your situation?
I think, there's the weird thing also. When you are undocumented, there are some places, but once you are documented, you're documented. Start learning about eigen risico and all these things. Yeah, but I went to my house art and I met the lady that was in the mental health session, was from Suriname. And I really, really explained to her, look, I'm really, really in a lot of pain. I don't know what's happening. And she kind of understood immediately that I was in a bad space. And she made the necessary arrangement, sent a referral. And 2 months later, I was going for intakes. And it's been very helpful.
Honestly. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I hope that people who are also going through the same can understand and get the help that they need.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about when, in your time in the Netherlands, how clearly community has been important for you. Talk about the really important friends you've made here. How did you sort of find and make these friends? Was it through situations you were put into, or other ways that you've created this network for yourself here?
Well, I can tell you clearly I've never gone to a bar just to hang out and meet people. Not that I drink, to my Muslim brothers listening there. But yeah, most of the places that I've been through, that I go to, are places that has to do with community and things like that. And it's very important to be part of a community, especially when you're in a situation like what I was in or what others are going through right now. Most of us don't have families here. You don't know people, so you need these organizations to exist. You need these communities to be there, because you can go there and ask questions and have a sense of belonging in a place where you are made to feel not welcome, where you're made to feel not belong, So it is a necessity, and for me, it's been a source of strength, and it's something that I keep working on currently with the Amsterdam City Rights community, which I'm a part of. I coordinate most of the times if I'm not making podcasts. I coordinate with that and other projects to all in the effort to bring sustainable change for migrants and undocumented people in the Netherlands.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And to sort of, bring it back to senses of home, what would you say is your ideal version of home?
Well, my ideal version of home, if we are speaking in the context of the Netherlands, would be, home would be a place where I wouldn't feel discriminated against because of my color of my skin, my migration background, my origins, my religious beliefs, A place where I could feel safe enough to be able to stand up for myself, stand up for those that I care about without feeling that there's going to be huge repercussion from doing what I feel is good. That is home. Home where people are treated equal with respect and dignity, That is home. And the rest we can manage, the weather and all we can deal with. But for me, that is home. And honestly, I really would love to make this place my home. But let's see, maybe in another podcast we'll talk about how it became home or how not. But I'm telling you, I'm a migrant. I'm telling you, there will always be a problem. There will always be a problem. From my experience so far, there is always something that will come up.
Yeah. And what does home mean to you now?
Home, like I said before, now, tomorrow, forever, will always be a place where I feel respected and treated with dignity. It's not gonna change, man. That's all that we're looking for, the possibility to have a stable life without the stresses and the traumas. The traumas will be there, but yeah, just a place to breathe and just start over,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.